Did we get a lot of comments last week?
Yeah, we got comments.
Really? Were they all pretty good? Pretty positive? No. Oh, okay.
Hello, welcome back to Cosmic Complexity, the podcast where we are trying our very best to understand the ever-expanding universe. And this week is going to be a chill, laid-back, non-controversial episode. We're going to be talking about remote viewing, which is pretty dope. We're going to be looking into some CIA files that have been undisclosed and a little bit of Wikipedia. We got it all mapped out. But before we get into that, I do think that there is an elephant from the ceiling that is in the room right now. I can see it.
Oh my gosh, there he is.
It's right past the camera, actually. You can't see it, but it's...
He's actually working the camera
there,
right now.
actually. Can you hear it?
Oh, there it is. There it is. I heard it.
There it is. Yeah.
That first one kind of sounded like a dying.
I think that was you. You
cow.
tried to make a little elephant noise, but
didn't work.
There he is.
Y'all caught me. It's
actually Gene, the elephant. He's our elephant correspondent.
He's the cosmic elephant.
He's the intern this year.
The intern this year.
So Gene is he's in the room.
Yeah.
For this episode. And well, okay, before we read the comment of the week, I'm dying laughing. I'm sorry. We had a hard time getting the cold open.
Yeah.
I want to do a quick reminder of the purpose of this podcast, and that is to provide a space for all people to share what they believe and what their opinions are, not just us, but people in the comments. And it's hard for like new viewers to like understand that's where we're coming from with this podcast, especially when we talk about like hard topics biblically and or just about our faith. Sometimes it can come across like we're trying to push ourselves, and some people don't listen to the episode in its entirety and don't hear us like openly say in the podcast episode, hey, this is not like, we're not trying to convince you of anything, we're just sharing what we believe. But last week's episode, we got 25 views and received upwards of, I think it was like around 12 comments, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
receiving comments is very exciting. There was a lot of opinions in those comments, which we also highly encourage. The only thing that kind of sucked about the comments was there was also a lot of anger and attitude along with those opinions, instead of it being an openly sharing kind of like conversation in the comments.
Like not jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And so just off the bat, want to say thank you guys so much for commenting and for viewing. And if you're a new viewer or never listened to this podcast before, I'm glad that you took the time to leave a comment. Just don't be so mean sometimes.
Don't be so mean.
We've been called a lot of names, but it's okay. It's all good. It's just there's a lot. It was Trent's first time. Trent popped his comment cherry last weekend.
I'm just a baby. I didn't know this is what the internet was like.
It's bad.
I knew. I knew. Wasn't surprised.
But with that, all of those comments that were left, we got some really cool questions, some really good conversation starters, and upwards of moving forward, we're probably going to have multiple episodes stemming from those comments and the concepts that they bring and the conversation they bring. So even though there was some angry and some frustration and anger in those opinions, they still did bring a really cool conversation, which I do appreciate. So, like I talk about this a lot on content. My other kind of like mini podcast, comments, good and bad, are a part of conversation and a part of growth, whether it be to help you encourage or to help you be better or to have just a conversation in general. So always thankful for comments, and thank you guys for leaving some. And make sure to leave a comment down below if you want to. If you have any questions, opinions, or anything of the sort, you will probably be an episode of Cosmic Complexity, whether a whole topic of an episode or right now in this little section. So we're going to read the comment of the week. What do you got, Trent?
So this is like one of the first comments I think on the video. It was from at I am Ginger Lynn. And they said, I don't think you have a fair conversation about if the Bible supports slavery and ignore half of the Bible. This entire video focused on the New Testament, which when compared to the Old Testament has very little to say when it comes to slavery. And in fact, it is a time where they were under Roman slave laws and not biblical slave laws. Why so much time was spent to talking about Roman slavery rather than biblical slavery is confusing to me, given what the video suggested it was going to be about. Biblical slavery is layered out in detail in the Old Testament, not in the New Testament. But this was ignored here. Disappointing.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah.
But okay, there's multiple reasons why we only went with the Greco-Roman slave topic. One of the kind of main reasons why we only focused on the New Testament is the argument between the Southern Baptist and the Northern Baptist. The reason they separated was because of slavery, and a main kind of push for that was the Greco-Roman slavery chapters written in the New Testament, because after Jesus has died and risen from the cross, the Christian faith transformed to be applicable to all people, not just the Jewish people. And so that's kind of why we focused on it, to justify why it is not supported in the Bible, because that is a section that would, if you don't know the historical context, could prove it to be supported in the New Testament. Now, that doesn't mean that the Old Testament is not important and that the slave laws and chapters of the Old Testament are also not to be addressed and talked about. To put it simply, we didn't have time.
Yeah.
we really didn't have time to...
I mean, going into the video, we were mainly focusing on the New Testament, and it would definitely be another, conversation entirely. To talk about. And obviously you can lump the two of them together, but and just do one conversation. But we kind of wanted to go more in depth on.
It's really hard to talk about the Old Testament slave laws and the New Testament slave laws, because they're two different types of slaves, and there are two different time periods, and so it'd be a lot of hard to mix it up, and it'd be really hard to have both of them have a time to be fully fleshed out and fully addressed, which down the line we are definitely going to be doing a Old Testament slave laws, because those are very similar to the Greco-Roman period of slaves, but there are different similarities to it, and there are different applications to it, and we'll definitely address it one of these days. But I don't think back-to-back episodes of slavery is enjoyable.
We also don't want to make this entire podcast turn into this one thing, because it's
right. Yeah, this isn't a Christian podcast. Not every episode is going to be about a Christian topic. Like, we're going to be talking about the CIA files, but we did want to take time to address that kind of common. That was a common note in a lot of the comments, was like we were ignoring the Old Testament. No, we weren't ignoring it. We just weren't focused on it. We should have probably mentioned that it was in the Old Testament, but I was just more focused on kind of explaining the New Testament file and just the historical context of that and the information that we had, because that was what the main episode was about. But also, when you talk about the Bible and the Old Testament and the New Testament, the entire Old Testament is pointing towards Jesus, and that is in the New Testament. So they are together. They're not separated.
They have different purposes and different contexts.
And
they all tell the same story.
Right. And there's multiple layers to how we get to that point where the New Testament and the laws in the Old Testament and how those change. And that is just hours and hours of conversation. And I'm not saying that we're never going to have those, but we did not have enough time to talk about all that in one episode.
Especially with kind of the way we were framing the episode.
Right. So. And if we put all of our focus on making sure that you understood how the Old Testament and the New Testament worked and how the old slavery laws were applicable to the new slavery laws, that would take most of the bulk of the episode.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't even get into the historical application of it. So that is our main reason. Sorry to disappoint you. But
yeah,
whenever we shoot a episode that is Old Testament, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
With that, sorry, I know that's a bit of a cleanup crew right at the start of the episode, but I did feel like that did need to be just talked about. It's great. The fact that we have a community, whether you're a subscriber or not, and we have a viewer to talk to is a blessing on its own.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Thank you for leaving a comment, and thank you for giving us a conversation. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, comments are definitely not discouraged.
No, absolutely not. Even that one, that is a good note to take away, is to be a little more clear on the topic.
Yeah.
A big thing is, like, I didn't say why the New Testament Bible doesn't support slavery or does support slavery, is because I don't think the Old Testament and the New Testament are separate.
Yeah.
They're one thing. The Bible as a whole. And that's multiple layers. And also, if you want to talk about a clickable title, does the Bible support slavery?
Right.
Rolls off the tongue and is more eye-catching than does the New Testament. There's so many layers to it, but
yeah,
that is our reasoning. So we weren't ignoring it. We weren't just hiding it,
sweeping it under the rug.
No, that is a conversation that will be had. There are so many things in the Bible that we could talk about.
Yeah.
So don't take it as us ignoring it. Take it as us putting it for a different time, because good Lord, the amount of topics that we could talk about in the Bible, even the same chapters, we could go over and over again and pull a different topic out of it. And that's just, that's just the way it is, honestly. But thank you so much for leaving a comment. And what was the name of that comment? Sorry.
Gingerlyn. I am Gingerlyn.
Gingerlyn, thank you so much for leaving a comment. We do appreciate you. And I hope to see you again. I'll be sending you a link to this episode, and I hope you listen to it. With that, we're going to get into the topic of the day. This is a little more of a fun topic, a little more of a fun thing to talk about. We're going to be talking about remote viewing, which I know a little bit about it. So we're going to start off. We have a description from the Wikipedia article that we found. And that is just to kind of give us a broad explanation of what we're looking into here. And then we're going to get into the actual CIA files and read into that. And if you're watching on video, some of those files will be showed on screen as well. So let's get into it. Trent, what is remote viewing?
So this is just the Wikipedia article on remote viewing. And it says that remote viewing is the practice of seeking impressions about a distant or unseen subject, sensing with the mind. A remote viewer is expected to give information about an object, event, person, or location hidden from the physical view and separated at some distance. And then this thing, physicists Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff, researchers at Stanford University, are generally credited with coining the term remote viewing to distinguish from the closely related concept of clairvoyance. According to Targ, the term was first suggested by Ingo Swann in December 1971 during an experiment at the American Society for Physical Research in New York City.
So it's the ability to see something at a great distance with your mind.
Yeah. Or even, I think that it also includes, like, seeing something that hasn't even happened yet, right?
Yeah, the files, we're not going to go into that section of the files because it's kind of like a separate, we might later, like in a different episode.
It's more just like past tense. Like
there is what's the word? The person who can see visions and stuff, the form of not psychiatrist. Psychic, yes. A psychic, there's like a documentation of a psychic who told a story about like a family who got in a car accident, and before they got in a car accident, like multiple months, like the psychic told this lady that her son and her would be hurt, and like even gave detail on how she would be harmed, and it was correct. And it scared the lady into thinking she didn't want to ever excuse me, ever go back to a psychic again because she feared that she would find out something bad was going to happen. Which psychics, that's a whole episode on its own. We will definitely, I would love to talk about that, or even get a psychic on the episode to talk to. Would be really interesting. But
he already knows, or they already know, whoever they are, they're gonna be on.
They're
the
already
episode.
ready. Yeah, they got the mic set up. And
yeah, I mean they're ready to go.
They're just waiting for the email.
Yeah, they're waiting on us.
That'd be wild. We email them like, I've been waiting.
Yeah.
What?
I knew you were going to email me.
She's amazing. She's too powerful. So yeah, that is a subject that this CIA file do go into. This is a huge file.
Yeah.
I spent a long time going through it and picking out the parts that we can talk about.
Yeah,
but a lot of it is just like jargon.
I mean, you all have. I mean, everybody has those moments of like, you're trying to guess the same number as somebody. You're like trying to guess something, and like you get it, and it's like this like crazy, like whoa, that was insane. Like
we've done it.
This like weird thing.
We did have it. Do you want to tell that story? We
Dude,
can.
Yeah. Okay. So this is like the first time that I even heard about remote viewing, and one of our friends, we were just all hanging out here. One of our friends, he was telling us about remote viewing, and he was saying like, yeah, people can like focus really hard basically and like see things that have happened, or like see like a crime scene, or yeah, like those sorts of things. And like the CIA uses it to like find people basically. And I was like, what, dude, that's crazy. And he was talking about how it's like something in our brains that we can like tap into. And I mean, that's the theory at least.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
a different plane of intelligence, or like our ability to comprehend something.
Yeah. And so we were just kind of messing around. All right, well, let's give it a shot. Let's see if we can do it. And so we were like trying to guess. I think what was it, a number from 1 to 100?
We took a paper and we all wrote a number from 1 to 100 on the paper. And we folded it and kept it in our pocket, and we didn't show anybody. So only we knew it, and then we thought about the number in our head. And our partner, I didn't have you. I had somebody else.
Yeah.
And you had the guy who was talking about it. And we one at a time tried to guess, like right off the bat, the first number. Check it out. We were gonna try to guess. I could feel it coming.
Wow, dude, you must be a psychic.
My mic smells like a fart.
That's nasty. We need to cut this out.
Oh, it's burning my eyes.
We're gonna lose views, dude.
Sorry.
We're gonna get some comments about that now, man. Dang it.
Tell them about what happened.
Yeah. So we all had our number, and me and the guy who was telling me about this, we paired up, and basically, I think he was thinking about his number, and I was trying to think about his number.
Yeah.
And I just like closed my eyes, and I was like really thinking about it, and it was just like it was like 47 or something like that. It's just some random number.
I think it was 6.
Was it?
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know. All I know
it might have been 47. It might have been more than one. I can't remember.
Hold on, let me. Yeah, it was 47.
Was it?
I'm just kidding.
Let's say 47.
Yeah.
We don't know the number exactly, but it was pretty.
I may have just made that number up on the spot. But the number's 47, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, I guessed 47. First, literally, I kid you not, first try.
Yep, first try.
I guessed 47, and it was weird.
He lost it. He was freaking out. We all were like, what? What?
It was weird.
And he was like, that's the number. That's the number I was thinking of. And yeah, so y'all bonded telepathically. I think.
Yeah. Well, but then we tried it again. He was like, he's a mountain biker. He rides mountain bikes. And he was like, all right, see if you can guess like my type of bike that I have. And I was like, okay. And I wasn't able to do that. So I feel like it's easier, especially if you're just learning how to do it. I feel like it's easier with numbers. You know what I mean?
I don't know if it's easier or if it's just the probability of saying the number is higher.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's easier
type
though.
of thing. Like if it's a bike, there are so many companies and brands, and you don't know them off the top of your head, but you know the numbers from 1 to 100.
Maybe so. Like you can visualize it better.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
And then your chances of it actually being the same are higher.
Yeah.
And if you know the person too, you can kind of guess. Like if you looked at me, you know, you'd be like, oh, he's probably gonna say like a number from 1 to 10 because he's like doesn't give a shit, and he's probably gonna say 6.
I was gonna say he's probably gonna say a number like 99, just to like mess with me.
Honestly, I usually just sit there and think of like the most niche number I can think of.
Yeah.
And then I say that.
Oh, what do you think is the most niche number from 1 to 100? How would you?
So here's how I base.
I think I'm trying to think of.
Let me think of one, and then let's try this real quick.
All right.
Let's try it. I will think of a number,
And are we thinking of the
and
most niche number?
you're going to no. I'm going to think of a number. I give you a hint, and you're going to try to guess the number. All right, I have it. I already have it.
See, but I feel like this is throwing it off because you said you gave me a hint, so now I'm thinking about that and not trying to link to you.
It's a niche number, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. I got to lock in here.
All right, so I want you to close your eyes. I'm gonna close my eyes,
Niche.
and I'm gonna be thinking of the number.
All right, think about your number.
I'm thinking of it.
Okay, all right. I'm getting something.
Hold on.
I don't know if this feels niche.
Don't rush into it. I'm gonna try to send it to you
Dude,
telepathically.
I picked something up though.
I'm sending it to you right now.
Okay.
Are you getting the number I'm thinking of? That's all I'm thinking of is this number. I almost said it just because I'm thinking of it.
All right, I'm picking up.
What do you got?
This is what I'm picking up. 94.
No,
Was I close?
not at all.
Was it? My next guess was somewhere in the 60s.
No,
Wow.
you're not even close. See, we're already disproving this.
Dude, I did it once.
Now, maybe you're just incapable of it. Maybe you're just,
I may have just got lucky. That one
or
time.
your brain is just not influenced right now
Maybe so.
with the powers.
The
I
most
mean,
niche number is
I
it?
I wasn't a part of these two. Maybe if it was you and Caden, you guys could have figured it out.
Maybe.
But
I don't know. What
do you
was
want to know what 37?
37? Okay.
I feel like 37 is a niche number.
Yeah. I was. Yeah.
You know,
I was gonna
60?
say 33. I think. Like whenever I think of a niche number, I was thinking 33 for mine. But
say like 7 is an uncommon number,
Mhm.
right? Like you don't see 7 a lot.
Mhm.
I mean, you do technically, but like when it comes to like pick a number from 1 to 10, you don't think 7
actually,
as a second one.
that-
Statistically,
no, actually, that's false.
Is it
7
false?
is the most picked number from 1 to
Bullshit.
10. I'm being dead serious.
Okay, but that's from 1 to 10. I'm talking 1 to 100. You don't say.
No, 37 is a niche number, but
Yeah,
7 isn't.
I know it is a niche number. That's why I picked it.
Oh, okay.
And if you knew it was a niche number, you would have said 37.
I'm sorry. Well, that's not the experiment.
I like
though.
how we haven't even gotten into the files. we tried it ourselves, and it seems that it's not.
It didn't work that time. But okay, here's
really
the thing
working.
though. I was feeling a little bit of pressure from the camera, so I feel like I couldn't really like focus. And you farted in the middle of it too, so that threw me off. I feel like I couldn't really focus. They can hear you. It's like that's. If I was watching this right now, I would turn it off because all they hear is. Like that's.
It's so funny, dude. That shit's so funny to me.
Just sniffing up the microphone.
Fart and smelling it. Oh my god. I'm glad we got back into the casual episodes. I leave a comment. Do you prefer the casual or do you prefer the like heavily
Serious.
serious topics? I think there's a good in between that we can.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because there's some episodes where we're just. This one's going to that.
It's
man.
already been that. All right,
You're
so
right.
let's talk about this. That there towards the end where it says 1995.
Mhm.
Go to that section down the line. That is the CIA project that we're going to be
Okay.
reading today. So let's go ahead and read that.
So it says in 1995, the CIA hired American Institutes for Research. So AIR, to perform a retrospective evaluation of the results generated by the Stargate project. Reviewers included Ray Heyman and Jessica Utz. Utz maintained that there had been a statistically significant positive effect, with some subjects scoring 5 to 15% above chance. Hyman argued that Utz's conclusion that the ESP had been proven to exist is premature to say the least. Hyman said that the findings had yet to be replicated independently and that more investigation would be necessary to legitimately claim the existence of paranormal functioning. based on both of their studies, which recommend a higher level of critical research and tighter controls in the CIA terminated the $20 million project in 1995.
God.
Time magazine stated in 1995 that 3 full-time psychics were working on a $500,000 a year budget at Fort Meade, Maryland, which would soon be closed.
Good for them. You know, $500,000 a year.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Just like
pretty good budget.
Visualize objects.
They're just doing what we're doing right now.
They just did what we did, but we could have been paid
farting around
$500,000. So,
well, it's interesting that the CIA set aside $20 million for this. Like, it's crazy. I mean, I guess if it is true, I mean, it's like pretty revolutionizing.
What's more interesting about these files, because I did skim through them, it is overly positive. Like all of these files, they were getting, unlike the last time we went through CIA files, and it was so just like, this is a waste of money, basically.
Yeah.
These are all like, these actually worked, and we found something here. And so this is one of the earlier files where they actually discovered something, and were proving that it was real. And that makes me wonder what classified files that are about this kind of thing that are like really figuring out shit.
Yeah.
Because this was used to spy on the Soviets. That was the idea, was to look into this. I think this was released in 2001, so these are not new files that were released. But good lord, is it fun to look into government files.
Yeah.
So,
kind of scary, though.
We'll get into it. So this is the first page that I got here. Remote viewing could be a potentially profitable intelligence collection tool if accepted as valid by those who have the power to promote its research. Blindly overlooking the persuasive experimental data that this phenomenon has yielded on numerous occasions could equate from a counterintelligence perspective to disregarding a potentially dangerous threat. This study is not designed to persuade the reader that this phenomenon is absolute, but rather to bring to light that in time, through continued study and application of this phenomenon, it could be proved a worthwhile collection tool. Research in this area is at a standstill in the United States. The general premise threaded throughout this paper is that greatly majority of professionals from the government, military, and academic circles are reluctant to accept this phenomenon, regardless of significant findings. The fear of humiliation for accepting something which so strongly cuts across the lines of conventional wisdom appears to be overriding reason. This paper illustrates through informed opinions of prominent government, military, and the field of parapsychology is large, encompassing numerous independent topics. Therefore, this thesis will focus on the study of telepathic clairvoyance, recently termed remote viewing by Stanford Research Institute. Scientists Harold Patoff and Russell Targ, Benjamin B. Wolfman, and of Handbook of Parapsychology defines remote viewing as an experience, either spontaneous or induced, in which one center of consciousness seems to be in a spatial location separate from that of one's physical body. Other commonly used synonyms include astral projection and out-of-body experience. In research conducted under the sponsorship of the former Soviet Union, the Russians who studied this concept seriously believe that when it is finally developed, remote viewing will allow an operator in one location to gather intelligence information from another area up to several thousand kilometers away without ever leaving the security of his initial location. This collection is not conducted with the aid of electronic equipment, but strictly mental process. So if you're capable of doing this, it would be a insane intelligence weapon.
Oh, yeah.
And this is like, what, 1995? This is before technology has gotten to the point where it is now.
Yeah.
So they were kind of like, we need to find a way to spy on other people without technology. And this is what they resorted to, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. It's like, it's almost scary that like they have that. But I mean, I don't know.
It's wild that they came up with this.
Yeah.
They're like, because a lot of this files, a lot of that I kind of picked around were him making the argument that it's not just a joke. And he like had comic strips and Twilight Zone quotes and stuff like that, where this is a time period where people were very like big on aliens
Yeah.
and magic and alternate dimensions,
Mhm.
and this is a weird period of humanity
Yeah.
in America where they were like bored,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, this is like, they're all coked out probably.
Yeah.
And they're just like, let's do some shit. Let's remote viewing.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it's really interesting. Like, some of this information is taken from the Soviet Union, research wise.
Mhm.
That's crazy. Research shows that the U.S. does not consider remote viewing a viable threat. More importantly, the U.S. has co-authored a textbook in quantum physics. Neither is a novice in physical research. The general procedure for these tests was to closet the remote viewer with an interviewer from an institute in a windowless room within a laboratory from an SRI complex at a prearranged time. An SRI researcher who acted as a conduit for the remote viewer retrieved one of 60 target cards from the locked safe and departed for a location dictated on his target card. The target cards, numbered from 1 to 60, were selected by a conduit by using a random number function on a Texas Instruments hand calculator. Therefore, the target selected from the safe was neither known by the remote viewer nor the interviewer. Thus, the interviewer could not aid or elicit a positive target response from the remote viewer. The target sites were all within a 30-minute driving time from SRI. With a predetermined viewing time arrived, the remote viewer was asked to draw and describe what he envisioned at the target site. Verbal descriptions of the target site were also recorded on a tape recorder, and the person at the target site simply paid attention to the environment of the site for 15 minutes and then returned to the lab. It's wild.
Interesting.
After all the raw data was compiled, the target person and the remote viewer and the interviewer returned to the target site to discuss the test. This was done to afford the remote viewer an opportunity to evaluate his own abilities. After 6 of these experiments were completed, their data compiled data packages to include the remote viewer's sketches, transcripts, and target cards were forwarded to the SRI research or judges who were tasked to revisit the target sites and assign a package to the site. To assign a quantitative value of these tests, the SRI judge assessed the viewer's transcripts against the target. From the transcript, a list of 6 concepts were developed and numerically rated on a scale of 0 to 10. A concept was usually descriptive in nature and represented by one word adjective, i.e. red and tall, bright, or phrases. I need to sneeze or something. Something's in my nose. It like hurts.
Huh. It's all those farts you were sniffing.
Probably.
Yeah. So it seems, I mean, they took a lot of precaution to like make sure the tests were
Thorough.
thorough, and like also like, you know, couldn't be cheated.
Oh my god. It's in my nose.
Yeah, I think it's it seems like it's more than just.
All right.
You need a minute?
Give me a minute. I don't know what that was. It really
It's weird. Maybe a remote viewer just flew up your nose.
I think something flew up my nose.
Yeah, it's more than just guessing a number, you know. It's like they literally had to visualize the like a specific area that they're trying to focus in on.
Right. And there's a lot of layers to like proving that they are intensely trying to figure out if this is like real, which is crazy. Yeah. A 0 constituted no correlation between the transcript and the target site, and a 10 represented exact correlation. The judge then computed the arometric average of the 6 concepts and arrived at a success rating for each individual experiment, as described by Puthoff. The quality of results was such that the judges who had determined in a blind fashion which viewer-generated data packages were associated with which target sites were able to match transcripts to the targets in first place in roughly half the cases. An exceptionally significant result. So half of these cases were accurate.
Yeah, that's wild.
In 1978, Puthoff and Targ conducted a similar series of experiments designed to determine the resolution capability of remote viewing. In these experiments, the remote viewer was again closeted with an interviewer while a target person proceeds to randomly select a location approximately 1/8 of a mile from the SRI complex. In these experiments, however, the remote viewer was not to report on the location of the target, but on the item concealed in a 35 millimeter film canister carried by the target person.
Hmm.
To prepare for this series of experiments, an experimenter previously unassociated with remote viewing experiments was tasked to select 10 small items and deposit each in separate 35 millimeter light canisters. This experiment then sealed the canisters. The canister and its components and its contents were neither known by the interviewer nor the target person, and the canisters were then numbered from 1 to 10 and secured them in a locked safe. Weird.
So you know what's interesting about this to me? A lot of it is like trying to they're trying to figure out what is inside of a locked box, you know. And this kind of reminds me of like the whole idea with like dimensions, you know.
Yeah.
Like physical dimensions, like you have length, width, and height, you know.
Right.
What if there's a fourth dimension, which we can't comprehend? Like we can only comprehend 3. But if you're looking at a 2-dimensional square and there's something inside of that square, like you're looking at it, you can clearly see there's something inside of that square.
Right.
But to a person like existing in 2 dimensions, they wouldn't be able to see what's inside of that square. So like for us, like for a 4-dimensional being, if we had something in a locked box, a 4-dimensional being would be able to see straight through the box and see what's inside. You know? So like I wonder if this is real, like if it's some people somehow figured out how to
consciously
perceive the 4th dimension, you know? And like somehow their brain is like able to do that.
Yeah, there's got to be something here. Like what's striking to me about these tests are like they are defining something out. Like they are discovering something, but we just don't know what.
Yeah.
And that's so wild to me is when we as humans discover something and then we're like, yeah, this happened and we don't know why. It's just like we don't know what this is.
Yeah, which is kind of the interesting. Maybe it's not like, you know, what everything that it says it is, but like it seems like there's something there, you know. And so it'll be kind of interesting to see. I mean, do you know if they're doing any sort of research with this right now? Like,
I'm sure they are, or they've already figured it out and they're just not.
Yeah, I mean that's
because if this is possible, and especially with these being like such positive tests. I'm sure they figured something out, and then they were like,
said this isn't working.
Yeah,
cut the funding. But
okay, so this is all just a bunch of jargon, basically. Let's see. The canister and its contents were neither known by the interviewer nor the target person. In these tests, like those discussed above, the location to where the target person carried the canister was determined by a random number function on a calculator. The person remained on this site for 10 minutes, then returned to the laboratory where the remote viewer, the interviewer, and the target person learned the context of the canister for the first time. The transcripts of the 10 experiments were then turned over to an independent judge who evaluated and compared descriptions given by the remote viewers to an actual contents of the canister. Examples of the quality of the descriptions as well as the sketches prepared by the remote viewer as shown above, or as shown in Figure 1. In addition to the local remote viewing experiments conducted within the San Francisco area, Puthoff and Targ also conducted long-distance experiments with equally significant results. Crazy. In these tests, conducted in 1973, 2 renowned American psychics projected their minds over long distances and accurately described secret military installations as well as classified materials within these installations. Wow. One of the psychics described in minute detail a remotely located Soviet installation in the Ural Mountains.
Wow.
Reportedly, this description was verified by CIA agents in the Soviet Union. And the 2 psychics then focused on China, and once again, CIA contacts in China reportedly confirmed their accuracy. When he saw the results of the test, a security officer at the test facility exclaimed, "Hell, there's no security left." And then here in these files, it'll be on screen now. We can see their psychic drawings. So on the left are the actual objects, and then on the right are the objects that they drew.
Wow.
And it's crazy. Like, the curled up leaf, it's like a side profile of the leaf curled up, and the top one is, and there's also like a description to it. There's a spool and a pin, and she said definitely something thin and long with a nail head at the end, silver colored. A nautilus shape with a tail that's a leaf.
Describing leaf, yeah.
Leather belt.
Yeah, leather belt.
Key ring. The strongest image I get is like a belt.
Oh, wow.
What's that one?
Can of sand. And this is saying like a miniature tower, scalloped bottom, light beige. So they got light beige.
So they got the sand color, which they also kind of describe the jar itself.
Gray and white.
What is that?
Maybe drill? Is that what this says? All right, let's see what this says. Like a penguin,
Gray
and black and white, pointed or slightly pointed off the top, open or pointed at the bottom. Huh.
So this is actually insane.
That is crazy.
If you keep in mind the, if you keep in mind, like, this is before pictures and drone images and satellite images were a thing.
Yeah.
The only way they could confirm this was by sending their undercover CIA agents in China and the Soviet Union to be like, hey, is this real? And then they were like, yeah.
That's wild.
Which, for the US, I bet they were like, holy shit.
Yeah, see,
we just figured it out.
I really feel like I mean, this is my theory. If it is real, it sounds a lot like the fourth dimension. Like it sounds a lot like they're literally able to somehow project their minds into the fourth dimension and like see into three-dimensional objects in the same way we would see into two-dimensional objects.
Especially the way that these drawings are shown. Like, you can see that the way that she viewed them and drew them is a very particular angle. It's not like they're all a very similar angle of like kind of, it's hard to describe. It's like above almost, or like at the side. It's not a 3D image. She didn't draw them. Yeah. She drew them all in kind of one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like they're drawing them from like above, you know.
Especially the curled leaf. I think that indicates, you know, her describing a curled leaf as a nautilus shape with a tail. That's a leaf on its side. You know, that's, and you don't typically, when you think of a leaf, you don't think about it, how thin it is, and then on its side, you think of it from the kind of front. So, yeah, really wild. And I do think there is something here. And again, if they figured this out in 1978 or whatever, who knows what they're doing with this now? Oh yeah. Who knows what they actually are capable of?
Sure, they didn't scrap it like they said.
No, definitely not. Especially if it's this probable. And a lot of his arguments that are made in the jargon are like, this is not an expensive experiment. Yeah. Like we could figure this out pretty cheaply. And I'm sure they did. I'm sure they figured this out real quick. So crazy topic.
Yeah. I think I find this stuff really interesting. Like the things that like to us seem like science fiction. Like back then, people thought that these like may be legitimate things that we can do. Like for instance, back I'm not sure how long ago, but it may have been back in the early 1900s, maybe, or late 1800s. We found out that, you know, I mean, because your eyes work like in the same way a camera does. You know, like it takes in light. And your brain like interprets that the light waves that your eye receives. So basically, we found out that you can like, at death, you can take like a photo, like your eyes take a photograph almost, and you can like print that photograph out. And so people thought that would be like a major breakthrough in like forensics. You know, like you would be able to see.
Heaven
like the last thing that person saw at death, you'd be able to like print it out and turn it into a picture, so like you could catch their murderer. You know what I mean? But they experimented with. I think they experimented on animals, but
wild.
And basically, they were able to do it. Like they took a photo of the last thing that animal saw, but it was like blurry and splotchy, and like it basically was nothing. Like but it's still cool that like it kind of worked, but.
If you think about how we discover like how our body works, how sound
Uh-huh.
travels to our ears, or how our eyes view color and
Mhm.
light, and those are things that we discovered as we progressed as humans and
Mhm.
as we learned how to understand it more and more.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if we don't understand our brain. We don't understand dreams. We don't understand like any of those kind of concepts. And eventually, maybe we will understand it, but for now, we don't. And
Yeah.
this to me feels like not understanding how it works, but like knowing it in the same way we hear things. Like we can hear things and we don't know how the sound gets to us, but now we do. And it's like you can see things, but you don't know how you can see that yet.
Yeah.
So maybe they have figured it out, and it's just too powerful for us to share how that happens, and or maybe they just don't want to openly give this ability to other people in other countries. And they're like, because if you give people the ability to remotely view wherever they want, and they're capable of doing it, that's dangerous for all kinds of secrecy in all governments.
Yeah.
And if it's possible, which seems like it is, we're kind of playing with fire here.
Yeah.
So you can understand why they want it classified, especially if they figured it out.
Yeah, for sure.
I would argue that this is definitely something that has been figured out.
Yeah. I mean,
Especially just
I
like
don't know the extent of it, but I definitely think there is something there.
the apparent like positive confirmations here. Like, I mean, y'all heard me read through the layers that they went through to make sure that it's in a rolled 35 millimeter film. That they didn't take the picture. They don't know it. It's in a locked box. It's a random selection. There's a calculator involved that randomly pulls a number. Like, none of this is like you couldn't just guess this.
Yeah.
And this is even better than the numbers 1 to 10. This is this is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think that, I mean, it is possible that there's like more depth and more capability to the human brain than we think.
There's also, we can look at there was a so the Dr. Kress, after reviewing satellite reconnaissance photos, decides to have a price focus on a tall crane and 4 structures resembling oil will direct to the location. Price was furnished with the geographic coordinates of these targets, a world atlas map marked with the approximate location of the facility, and was told that it was a Soviet research development facility. The next day, Price furnished Kress with a drawing of what Price described as a damned big crane. See figure 2. Regardless, Kress remained skeptical because Price never mentioned the derricks, and when asked why he did not see the derricks, Price replied that they were not there anymore. Kress, because he had not verified his data during the past 3 months, rechecked the latest reconnaissance photos. To his surprise, the new photos revealed that the 2 derricks were partially disassembled. Nevertheless, Kress maintained that all 4 were visible. Therefore, he concluded, in general, most of the Price's data were wrong or could not be evaluated. He did nevertheless produce some amazing descriptions, like buildings then under construction, spherical tank sections, and a crane. But again, since there was a bad information mixed in with the good, the overall result was not considered useful. I don't know how that's not considered useful. The fact that the psychic was able to correctly map out the location as it is recent, while the other guy didn't have correct information and was like, "Oh, you're wrong," and then looked at it and was like, "Oh shit, he's right." I feel like that's more proof than not. Look at these scissors.
Yeah.
So this is the second picture.
Okay. So
on that's the target site, and then those are the drawings of it, I believe.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So it's I think that's
dang.
It's wild.
Yeah.
The whole concept of this.
Yeah. It's insane.
It's actually crazy. I'm trying to see. I think the rest of this is kind of just
there's some more. I think the images are the most interesting part to me, like, is you get to see, like, actually, the actual results of the experiment. Interpret it for yourself.
Let's see. This is the next one. Meanwhile, the Defense Intelligence Agency and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency picked up this slack Neither agency was shy to admit that they would continue modest testing into remote viewing with the hope of cement depression, as if I don't know where the rest of this file is. It's missing. So what was described as a cement depression, as if a dry fountain with a cement post in the middle of the inside. There seemed to be pigeons off to the right flying around the surface of the depression. This report was confirmed by Targ, who relayed that the fountain was dry, had a cement post in the middle from which to spray water, and was surrounded by pigeons. So not only do they see objects and buildings, they also see creatures, which further kind of improves the detail of which they can see things. In addition to this test, SRI conducted numerous other tests throughout later 1970s with equal persuasive results. According to Charles Wallach, who had published several authoritative articles in the field of remote viewing, the most encouraging consideration of remote viewing is the fact that such a large percentage of the population is found to be capable of conducting it. Whether or not they are aware of this capability or have had any experience or interest in physical phenomena. Moreover, he discussed the cost effectiveness of remote viewing and intelligence collection as compared to a significant amount of money allocated to established scientists towards the detection of underground tunnels and mapping of minefields. In his 1985 article in Defense Intelligence, Waller proposes. And there's some images, I don't know, they're not described well. But this, and again, we're running out of time here, but this file is extensive. The amount of, and if you want to see it, highly encourage, go check it out. Just Google remote viewing CIA file and you'll find it immediately. But it is actually insane. The amount of tests and just like consistent proof of like this being possible. And again, like he was exclaiming, a large population is capable of doing this. Yeah,
which that's crazy to me. Like, could you imagine if you had 30% population being able to do this? Like,
that's why I think it's still classified. We're not talking about it scientifically.
And then, like, what if it is possible? Like, does it go beyond just being able to see things? Like, can you like physically alter things from?
I doubt it.
You know?
Yeah, I'd say what you're going, but I would argue you can only see things with your conscience. Like your intelligence can only do so much.
Yeah. And then the question is, can you interact with other people's conscience, you know?
I would say yes. Like, there's been a few tests, and I think I've mentioned this before on this podcast, but there was a recent, like, discovery where they put two guys in a room, and they had them, like, sleep in the same room, and they were monitoring their brains, and they were trying to get both of their brains to connect in their dreamscape and to share a dream together where they were both interacting with each other in the dream, and they were able to do it, and they were able to like mark it down and like consistently get to where they were both in their own dreams. Which, like, if you have siblings and you stayed in their room, have you ever done that? Have you ever shared a dream with a sibling?
I don't think so.
I have.
No, I mean, not that I know of, at least.
Me and I think my older brother shared a dream one time, and like I was talking about it, he was like, I remember that. And I was like, whoa.
That's weird, dude.
And like, of course we didn't really think about it. We were just kids. But that's weird. Like, the fact that our brains are capable of connecting like that. It's really wild. And, you know, we're faithful men. We believe in our spirits and the Holy Spirit and our conscience. And we don't believe that our body is necessarily important, but what is inside of us is. And so I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily contradictory to our faith to believe that our brain and our spirit is capable of traveling to planes. And even biblically, there's, who was it? Who was the spirit that was it Elijah?
Like that got taken up into heaven?
There's a passage in 2 Kings. I taught it.
Really?
I taught on the passage. They gave me the hardest passage to. A spirit is it was a dead man, one of the saints, one of the classic Old Testament,
like
highly renowned prophets,
characters,
was returned in his spirit to meet King, I believe it was King Saul, and like scared Saul and like told Saul God's judgment upon him,
Mhm.
and it was a spirit, and it wasn't. One of these days, we'll talk about biblical spirits and ghosts,
And
which
there's
we've never
with
done that.
like the the transfiguration in the garden whenever Jesus meets with Moses and Elijah.
Yeah.
And like there's some different theories on that, but like they're like spirits,
Yeah. There's another. I'm trying to think. There's another one where Jesus appeared as a spirit, like he appeared to one of the disciples, and initially was a man, like just a normal man. He didn't reveal himself as Jesus until further into the conversation, and then
like after he rose.
So it was after. I can't remember what chapter it was.
Well, it was
was it Peter?
Well, it was the women who went to
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, to his grave, and like along the way they were he said, "Why are you weeping?" And they said, that Jesus had somebody had stolen his body, and then they realized that it was
Our brains are weird, and they're kind of terrifying sometimes. So I try not to think about it too much.
Yeah,
because it's kind of a crazy concept. It really is. Which you also got to be careful because there are multiple layers to it. And then there's also like shrooms and
they can like supposedly like
psychedelics,
heighten that experience.
But that also makes me wonder, because I do believe that we are given these, like, we believe God is all sovereign and God created everything for a reason.
Yeah,
He created wine for a reason. He created drugs for a reason. I do believe that like even drugs are here for a reason. Like marijuana can be used to
medically
ease your joints and your body medically, not just like your brain.
Yeah.
And they're often used for older people who are having like joint pain. You can get like different kinds of like creams or pills or things. And I do think that every drug, even medically, like pharmaceutical drugs, are like, how did we figure out there was a drug in the first place? It was there's a reason it exists.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's a grace from God that we have these like modern,
because they help us.
Advances,
they help us heal, and they help us, and that had to have started from it being a drug, which makes me wonder what is the provident purpose of shrooms and LSD and these drugs that make our consciences like somewhat transcend where we are here.
I mean,
what is the purpose?
It also could just be something that like an example that in the way the world has been corrupted by sin, like it could just be something that like shrooms is just something that the world is corrupted by sin, and like it's something that people can use to like I don't know,
because you could say the same thing for alcohol, like alcoholics, but then again, Jesus turned water into wine. Obviously he didn't view alcohol as a bad thing or a sinful thing. It's just what we did with it that made it sinful. So with shrooms, I don't know if it would be viewed as a bad thing, but it's what we do with it. But it's then again, it's like, well, then what are we supposed to do with it? Because I know some stories of people who like took shrooms and they claim they met God or they met a sentient God, and I have a really hard time believing that.
Yeah, I mean, because you hallucinate stuff.
Because you could say, like, there's a YouTube series called Tales from the Trip or something like that, and it's like people who went on LSD and shit, and they like describe their trips. It's crazy.
I bet.
Like the stories are actually insane. And I don't know if I believe that. I think your brain can just make shit up.
Oh yeah,
and especially 100%. When you're tripping.
Think
balls.
about like dreams. Like dreams are wild.
I
had a weird dream the other night.
What was your dream?
It was weird, dude. I did dream that.
Tell me about it. Is it a nightmare?
Yeah.
What was it? Tell me the dream.
It was weird, dude. I just remember there was this like, I don't even remember where I was, but it was kind of one of those like unsettling dreams,
Uneasy.
Yeah. It made me feel uneasy, and I was somewhere, and there's this dude that was like just kind of weird. Like he was just weirding me out the whole time, and I don't even remember like why, but I don't really even remember what he looked like. But basically he like killed 2 people in the dream with like a katana.
Oh, that's dope.
It was weird, but like he didn't even like the katana was just like left in the person. You know, it was a weird dream.
I had a dream.
But I remember waking up and I felt like uneasy. Like,
yeah,
it unsettled me. And it was like, oh, that was weird.
I had a dream and I was stuck in a mansion with like a bunch of random people. None of them looked familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a zombie apocalypse going on. And it was like a certain type of zombie. Like they weren't normal zombies. Like their purpose wasn't to make more or like eat us. It was just to kill us. Like they just wanted to kill us.
Like eliminate you from.
They weren't trying to make more or
make
like,
you go extinct.
No,
like destroy the human race.
And they were like smart and they were like trying to break into a mansion and shit.
Geez, dude.
And it was like
so it was just like a superior like
zombie
race almost.
Yeah, it was horrible. I didn't like it.
Of a superior species of yeah.
Dreams are weird.
Yeah,
I don't know why we make up how our brain does that. Our brain's just like zombies.
Yeah,
makes you wonder what caveman dreams were like.
Yeah, What do you think was a weird dream for them? I think they dreamt about scary
if you want to
dinosaurs.
talk about like dreams that are written down and could be heavily hard to understand, like Revelation, are all perceived dreams that have been prophesized and written down. And like, of course, we believe that this is a biblical prophecy dream. And we're not getting into Revelation right now. I don't fully understand Revelation enough, but it will be an episode we talk about one of these days. But the way he describes things is how they would describe a dream in that time period. Yeah. Or even if you want to go into like the kings who are having dreams, and then Daniel was like listening to them describe their dream, and he would tell them. That's like, I think those are clear examples of like how before technology dreams were described. Yeah, is a good example of that. But it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. Like they just dreamed about cows and wheat. Yeah. Because that's all they had.
Yeah, and
cows and wheat, man.
That's also like what do blind people dream about?
What do dogs dream about?
Like all right, people that have been blind their entire life, they just like, do they dream? You know, it's like
animals dreaming is what's weird to me. Is that like we're capable of dreaming, and that's fine to me because we're intelligent. That makes sense that we could make up like scenarios in our head, but like a cat or a dog. Yeah. Or a squirrel. Yeah. Or like,
and like, how do they interpret
turtles.
that? You know what I mean?
I don't know, because like you'll see your cat like twitching and shit. Hank will run in his dreams. Yeah. He'll be my dog Hank. He'll be on his side like fucking kicking his legs.
Really?
He'll bark sometimes.
So he's a sleep talker. He's a sleep barker.
That's what he barks like. It's like, what are you doing? It's kind of funny.
That's interesting. Yeah. Like, I mean, because they're not. Like you said, they're not intelligent enough to like interpret that. I understand that's a dream. You know? Well,
maybe they just wake up and they think, "How the fuck did I get here?" Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when Gara, my cat, swallowed a NyQuil tablet, he was drugged out of his mind. Yeah, I bet he probably transcended multiple universes. Yeah. He's probably.
I've noticed that he seems different now.
I think he met God.
Yeah, cat God.
No, just God. I mean, cat God is God. Think about it. I mean, like, animals are God provides for all animals.
You're right.
So
you're right.
If they had a God, it would be God.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. That was a theological error on my part.
Theological discourse. Like even Jesus said, the bird doesn't worry about the seed it will eat or something. I don't know the parable. Yeah. Well, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to Cosmic Complexity, episode 16, and thank you for sitting through this episode. If you found it interesting, please leave a comment. Let us know. I know that these are more laid-back episodes, but I personally find these more fun to shoot. And they also get less angry comments typically, but I guess we'll find out.
We'll see.
So anyways, have a good night.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.